Hello, everyone out there. Let's break some myths. I love to crush myths and indoctrination. So I'm just gonna be me, being me, talking about how indoctrination is killing love, true unconditional love. So you guys have heard the term of high priestess. And you guys have listened or heard the term of witches. And you guys have listened about Pistis Sophia, Mary in the Bible, as being the favorite disciple of Jesus. Man's perspective of it, right? Or indoctrination perspective of it. How they actually took Mary and messed up the whole story of who she was, which she was a high priestess. And then we're gonna break down the myth step by step. I'm gonna start with a little summary with the help of my friend Copilot, because when these ideas come into mind and Abba puts a story in my head about how to break the indoctrination and the true walk of Jesus, we need to base it on historical facts so people stop wearing the blindfolds that are allowing them to live in repetitive patterns and cycles towards evolution in literally going back to basics. I never understood why he told me all the time, go back to the beginning, go back to basics, go back to the beginning, go back to basics. It was an urgent message for us to stop seeing the world through indoctrinated eyes and go back into the real practices of who Jesus was and what his movement of Christianity should have been and not what it is today. As I say, I'm a spiritual being. I am not married with any religion. For me, the highest frequency of them all is love, and unconditional love is something that nobody understands because they don't feel deserving of it or are not able to give it to themselves so they can actually share it with others. I was there too, right? My iron levels are a little low, so I gotta do this, even if I don't like it. And before I forget, step it up with a little bit of vitamin C so my body actually gets it or processes it better. So yeah, I do have a call. Give me 1 second, guys. This is what happens when we're live. And since I'm myself being myself, if you want to stay here for it, you can. If not, then you can come back later and just forward it. Hola. Amor, te llamo en un segundo que estoy haciendo un vivo. ¿Está bien? Ya te llamo. Dame una horita, más o menos, media hora, y te llamo. Ay, gracias, mi amor, gracias. Hasta luego. Ok, mi amor, ya te llamo. Bye. We have family members calling left and right. It's gonna be a hectic day, regardless. People say the show must go on. I don't believe this is a show. I believe this is a calling. When Abba called me in to break the generational curses of my lineage, to not only understand myself, but understand others. Being that I'm a healer, I do of taking other people's pain and transmuting it. What I didn't know is knowing that I'm doing that without affecting my own health. And I've learned through the experience that the reason why I was doing that is because in my heart, I felt the need of helping another because I often was not understood. My gifts were not understood. My knowledge, my wisdom on certain aspects of natural remedies and stuff was not understood. So, to try to show people what to do in their own lives to fix X and Y, I actually did come into realizing that I cannot go against free will and I don't have the authority to do that unless a person is willing to go through the experience or giving me the rite of passage so I can do so. So I did get in trouble a few times until I learned that I should not do that anymore. And I only did that with two people in my life. This last one being a space where I think that the main idea of these people was you cannot talk about what you haven't experienced. So they put me through the ringer, kind of for me to see the experience, how they live life. But what's beautiful about all of it is not only that I found out that I had PTSD, but that Abba gave me the blueprint of how to heal it. And that's in my last post, my last live. If you want to know, let's say if you're an artist or you're a public figure, etc., 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 you chose a specific life like me, I'm here online, I am open for a lot of people to criticize, right? If you want to know how to be in the eyes of the world where people have duality and different opinions and still not linger your energy into allowing it to go left and right, then the past life, that's for you. All right. So before I finish that, we cannot blame the world for a career that we chose. We cannot blame others for criticizing our life if we chose to have our life out on the screen. That was a choice. So if that was your choice, it's your responsibility to take advantage of understanding that you cannot please everyone. And you still have to be yourself. You cannot comfort or conform with appearing to be someone that you're not just to appease the masses. If you do that, you're not living life. Life is living you. And people are always gonna have a way to puppeteer your life into thinking or making you think that what you truly want to experience should not be experienced based on your image or based on whatever in the hierarchy you think you are. In order for you to disconnect from that, you need to be whole inside and understand, regardless of what you do, there's always going to be somebody criticizing. Therefore, it's your choice, free will choice, to take on those and taking personally attacks, or just see it as whatever and continue to live your life at your fullest, being true to your heart, not to an image. I don't care of exposing myself. I don't care about exposing my truth. I don't care about exposing my past because I'm not that person anymore. We all transform, we all change, we all find the answers if we allow the Spirit to be within us and we allow our hearts to open up and stop living a false life based on false images and false indoctrination. So let's go back. If you want to skip it, jump to minute 11 when we're going to start the story of Salem. We're going to do a spiritual, religious, and inquisitorial kind of thing here. It's not going to be too long, but then we're going to jump into the scriptures so you can see how it's actually in the scriptures as either prophecy or as a path or way of passage for people to understand that what others believe is evil is just ignorance of not understanding its meaning. A lot of people call me a witch. I don't give a crap. They can call me whatever name they want. I'm not going to allow anyone to box me into their lack of mind, lack of knowledge, and lack of wisdom. And the reason why I don't want to do that is because I love myself enough to understand who I am and what I bring to the table, regardless of. Therefore, I do have wisdom that comes from my DNA, my past lives, or however you want to call it, in which I know what remedies from nature, what plants, what foods, what whatever I can use to actually not only heal myself, but allow others to have a little bit more peace of mind when ingesting these foods or taking this cheese or whatever. I also help a lot of people in regards of understanding where they're standing so they can actually acknowledge their part of the story, their part of the blockages, and their part of indoctrination that is stopping them from living a full life. So, in the story of Salem, we see how a community longing for purity, its fear of the unknown, and its rigid religious structures collided in a way that turned spiritual discernment into suspicion. One of the powers of the Spirit is spiritual discernment. So automatically, in an indoctrinated era where Catholicism and whatever wanted to rule and control the masses, if not, hello, look at history and look at the Vatican. It's simple and easy. How can all this gold and history and knowledge will be hidden from the public when it should be in a public library, right? It should be at the will and the hands of everyone. The problem is that they try to control it because if not everybody knows the truth, then there will still be hierarchies in this world, which hierarchies are not supposed to be of this world. They're supposed to be above, not below. Therefore, when you say as above, so below, that means that when you actually are sovereign and you actually got your feminine and masculine energies balanced, and you take off the rose colored glasses and you see your life and the life of others through the eyes of the Spirit, which is Abba, then you can start releasing the need of attaching to the things that don't serve you. So, the Inquisition logic into everyday life came to stop what they feared. What began as a desire to protect the sacred quickly distorted into a hunt for imagined enemies. So, the church built a fantasy or a fallacy or a lie upon this women or this place called Salem. And if you remember yesterday, I tell you that every word I look for its meaning in Aramaic, and Salem literally means peace, wholeness, safety, or completeness. Therefore, these people were feared because they had a wisdom and a knowledge, earth, wind, water, and fire, of the elements of nature and their own bodily systematic functioning, plus the ability of being seers because they had discernment of the spirit and they can connect to nature. So, because that was heretic, there was a persecution into killing or dismantling that specific place or knowledge, because there was a fear of the abilities that these people had. So, if we continue with that, beneath the tragedy lies a deeper truth. The people accused were not threats to God, but mirrors reflecting the community's unknowledged wounds, intuition, and inner gifts. That's why I say that whenever I'm in front of someone and they ask me for the truth, I'm going to say it. I'm going to be blunt. And even if they don't ask me, I will say, sorry, would you mind if I tell you what I think about what you're going through? I'm like, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be triggering. But if you want to hear it, I will tell you. And then as soon as a person gives me the okay, I tell them. Now, in the past, when people didn't give me that okay, and I thought they gave me that okay, I probably brought into their faces a mirror that reflected where they were wrong, as well as I could see where I was wrong based on Abba's blueprint of teaching me how to be softer in my approach, yet still within the sovereignty of the knowledge and the wisdom that my body has, my mind and my DNA has from, I guess, the past experiences or the ethers or Akashic records, whatever you want to call it. I'm not here to say I am the best person in the world because, hey, I have a lot of defects and I understand them now. And I try my best to manage them because I have a condition called PTSD, which actually is pretty triggering. So, understanding that allows me to be in control and not allow the condition to control me. It's the same with the mind and the heart. You decide who takes control. You decide who's driving that car. You decide who's actually steering that boat. You either go the spiritual way where Abba shows you the truth, or you're still living in a lie to conform with whatever the societal standards are requesting from you. It's a choice, right? Free will choice. That's why you cannot be mad at people that leave you behind. You cannot be mad at them because there has to be a resonance and frequency of those energies, which can allow the infinity to continue to move, not in circles, but in a loop of evolution. And that only comes with maturity of emotions and understanding of the spirit. And unfortunately, our indoctrination had stopped that kind of evolution in humanity by taking the music and the arts away from people so they stop being creative, by trying to box them into radical thoughts or beliefs. It's like, for an example, America was born from a group of people that came from the exterior, immigrants that decided to put a set of rules where people can come to the land of the free and the home of the brave. But what the hell is happening now? They're literally cleaning their butts with a raw toilet paper, not going to the origins of how this land was born and raised. They come from immigrants. They are just naturalized Americans, but they believe they have a right to push and pull anybody else just because they think it's overpopulated. There is a space for everything and everyone. And I'm not going to go into politics. There is a space for everything and everyone. But you cannot be so dualistic of speaking about alienation when you are an alien because you came from another country. That's simple and easy. And I always say this, Latino people that are already Americans, that come from other countries, are harsher on a Latin person just arriving than a true American native that is happy that you're learning the language. It's not the same. The Latino will criticize you because you don't know how to speak English. Hey, what about your grandma and your grandpa when they came in? They work their butts off for you to be where you're at. That doesn't give you the right to now criticize the people that came like your grandparents to do the same for the benefit of their I don't know, expansion or growth or evolution or that freedom that was promised. But regardless of, the same happened in Salem. It's a pattern, guys. It's all cyclical. And when I say that we're going into the Christic era, all these myths are just gonna crash. There is no way that everyone is gonna be able to be lied to unless they want to stay dormant and ignorant of history and truth. So let's see. Salem teaches us that when the most important thing, I've been saying this forever, institutionalized religious practices have forgotten what true unconditional love is. And there's no way around it. If not, just sit down and listen to your pastor speaking about how you cannot sit down or hang out with a person that is not in your church or not in your religion, how to actually look down under people that practice other religions, etc., etc., etc. Tell me where in the Bible Jesus ever make a separation like that. Never. It was probably a prophet that within his own interpretation put his own 5 cents in there. But from Jesus itself, just scrutinize only the words of Jesus and take away the prophets, which are human just like us. Yet Jesus was the truth and the way to the Father. So eliminate the prophet's interpretation and go to the words and actions of Jesus itself, and you'll see how the whole structure of indoctrination is going to fall down on your face. All right. So Salem teaches us that when religion forgets love, when spirituality loses humility, and when institutions prioritize control over understanding, innocence is sacrifice. Same thing that we're going through right now in our day. The country, the hate, love will always be bigger than hate. Always. There's no way that where is love, hate will win at all. No way. So the lesson endures, understanding that truth can never be found through persecution. Ever. Because in the moment you start persecuting or segregating, you are the problem. The community is not. But throughout the courage to face our own shadows, right? If I face my shadow and I understand that my fear of not accepting another is because I am feeling less understood, less seen, I think opportunities are going to fade away, but I'm still not standing up and doing the job that they do, then at that point you stop talking ignorance and you start seeing the truth. Clarity and a heart willing to see one another as humans. humanity has lost compassion. And this is an indoctrination that comes from politics and religion. Status quo, hierarchies, branding. There is a beautiful world out there. And the only way you can see it is when you look at a little kid. Learn from them. See the pureness of their heart. Remember that that's who you are. You are not what you went through. Trust me, I've went to hell and back in my life because of ignorance. Because I thought that everybody could see the world how I saw it through the love and unconditional love of Jesus. And then I obviously reacted because I was not sovereign in the truth. And the truth is, I am who he says I am, not who others paint me to be. I do have gifts of the Spirit that others do not understand. And because in my childhood, I was told that I was going to be rejected, I had to fit in somehow by diminishing my knowledge, my wisdom, and acting as if I was one of them, living in ignorance. When I realized the toll it was taking into my life, I realized that I was clinging or attaching to false senses of reciprocity that didn't even exist. When I realized that, I took time for myself to listen to the words that Abba was saying so we can break the myths and live a true righteous life in Christianity or a Christian walk without being like the ignorance that are segregating and killing love through indoctrination. So what jumped about this is the King Melchizedek. It's a mysterious priest king of Salem, Jerusalem, who blessed Abraham in Genesis 14, bringing bread and wine and receiving a tithe from the patriarch, signifying his spiritual superiority. Listen to this. In those times, the biggest father of this religion, Abraham, accepted the knowledge of Melchizedek, which was considered a high priest. What is a high priest? You and I. We are all high priestess. We're like diamonds in the rough because we have the knowledge in our DNA, yet we haven't been sovereign to live our life from the truth of the knowledge. To fit in, whatever. I don't condone that anymore. If people don't have an understanding for the gifts of the Spirit that I have, that's fine. I won't judge them. But I also not going to place myself in that space where all that they're going to do is criticize or box me into their own limited beliefs. Not anymore, because there is a higher power that is telling me, speak the truth. The church needs restoring, and the church is not a temple, it's us. So whoever has ears, let them hear. Whoever has eyes, let them see. Whoever want to stay dormant and stay behind and live a flesh life, they can do that. I don't care. But I do care that the people that I love and the people that is around me respect my wisdom, my knowledge, my understanding of true love. And if they cannot see it through my eyes, they can also not judge it. And that's where people fall and fail because they want to construct, as I did once, this bubble in which there is a reciprocity that stands from truth, honesty, and mostly loyalty to one another. The reason why I stopped believing in marriage is because I saw how the world was living in sin, which I did too. Because time and time again, you see it, and it's so repetitive. You get bored. You get so bored of seeing that everybody's just acting out of character because they don't want to confront their own fears, that you actually get into the same wagon because your energies are exposed to it so constantly on a daily basis that you stop believing in your powers and you become literally one of everybody else. And I'm not here to fit in, not even to stand out. I'm here to be me. And whoever loves and likes the way I am, fine. Whoever doesn't, that's fine as well. I'm not $1,000 bill or a link of gold to be nice to everyone or to be liked by everyone. And learning that gives you power. Now, taking accountability, it gives you wisdom. Because in the moment you are accountable of your own mistakes, you cannot point the finger at nobody else. And that's where I found myself when I thought I could heal and help others that never asked me for help. I learned. But I'm still who I am, and I'm going to still be who I am, and I'm going to still share that wisdom and knowledge with others, because you never know who may need this. You never know who may be right now judged by others without understanding the power they have within themselves of being a high priest. So, as I always say, you can get these powers and use them for good, or you can get these powers and use them for bad. It's your choice, but everything in life is a cycle. What goes, comes. It's a boomerang effect. Doesn't matter how many lifetimes it will take, it does come back. So if you want to break the patterns of your culture, if you want to break the patterns of your family, and you want to live unchained, it's your choice. No one can make that choice for you. Takes accountability, truth, loyalty to yourself, all of that, and then honesty to not only yourself but another. It's the only way that you can live a righteous life, being true to who you are. A lot of people fall into the avoidant pattern because they don't like confrontation. But the truth is that if you don't confront a situation, you're never going to clarify the situation. Now, if you act as an avoidant and you say, I don't care anymore, and then you go and repeat the pattern and the cycle with another person, don't ask why it happened again. There is something that needs to be acknowledged. There is something that needs to be healed before you actually commit yourself to have a family. Because a family is not a place where I just gonna bring a kid to the world because I love kids. No. It's an institution. It's an institution that needs to have very solid pillars. And if you're not able to give yourself that respect of being in charge of your decisions, then you're never gonna be able to have a happy family or a happy life, because you're allowing anything around you to affect you. We can put that in another one. Let's go to Psalm 110. This is a major messianic prophet. Again, priest. The priests of the church, they're just hierarchies. The priesthood of men, of us in spirit, totally different. Totally different. And if you go to the verse number 4, it says, "The Lord hath sworn, thou art a priest of ever after the order of Melchizedek," which we already know that is, my king is righteousness. To be a priest, you gotta be righteous. To be a priestess, you had to be righteous. And righteousness cannot be found without control of your emotions. Righteousness cannot be found if you're wavering in faith, because faith without works is dead. So if you're measuring your life by the fruits of your labor, that tells me a lot about your character. Now, if you measure your life by the fruits of the Spirit, then your labor is not going to be a selfish labor for reaching a hierarchy in the eyes of the monetary hierarchy that exists or status quo that exists. It's going to tell me that you are sovereign in your righteousness and your beliefs of true unconditional love, and that money flows into your life and never extinguishes, because it's a constant flow of energy that comes from loving unconditionally, without conditions, without judgments, and without fear. It's not the same. If you see people grinding because they want to reach this high level, I want to have everything in life, da 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 da. When you get up there, isn't it cold as hell? Why? You went to the place that you thought it was going to make you happy because you're going to have everything you want. Who's taking care of your heart? So you focus on the material aspect of it. You left your spiritual aspect outside. And now who's taking care of your heart? You have to take care of your own heart. And your heart cannot be in the flesh, because your heart is only open through the Spirit. As I said before, I come from a very wealthy family that lost their wealth because of ignorance. But they still lived a life thinking that they were as wealthy as they were before, when they were not. And for me, I didn't want to live that lie. I don't want to appear to be something that I'm not. I want to be me. I want to be free. Not free of responsibilities. Free of knowing that these gifts of God come with a price of being criticized for them, for the persecution of another that is ignorant enough, that doesn't understand your gifts. It's simple like that. But if I place myself in this space and anybody else went through the hierarchies to reach a specific level, it's a CEO or whatever, and they think that just because they got there, they will have automatic respect. Nobody owes nobody their respect. Yet, it is a principle to respect another just for being righteous. People think that you have to trust them blindly. The only way you can trust somebody blindly is when the energy allows you to do so. Unfortunately, as I stated yesterday, people test you to see how far you can go. What they don't know is they're just messing up their own life, not yours. Because what they're doing is they're exposing how scared they are to actually being themselves. Let's see. I will highly recommend that if you want to understand the reason of why Salem was persecuted, you read Psalm 110 of KJV, Genesis 14. Understand that Salem means peace, wholeness, safety, and completeness, which is literally what everybody should be looking for within themselves, to be whole and not depend on another person to make them happy. Which is fun that people told me at times that that was me when I was trying to assist them into acknowledging how far away from being awakened they were living life. But at the same time, it opened my eyes to see what things I was holding on to, how control was distorting the essence of the knowledge and the teachings, and how my own human side and aspects of life were holding me back from living true abundant life within the spirit. And that's why I do these lives. I do these lives because I am not here to judge anyone. I'm here to tell myself, if you like it, well. If you don't like it, that's fine as well. If it triggers you, then there might be something you need to look within yourself and try to fix it, so you don't fall into the same cycle again, and you don't blame others for being in the same pit that you actually don't know how to get out of. So we all have that tendency of blaming another because we don't want to see the bad aspects of us. And that's where the shadow is important. If you don't acknowledge your shadow, that you cannot actually take accountability of what you're doing wrong, which is a mistake, a sin, or whatever you want to call it, but it's something that needs to be healed in you so you can actually live a true experience of openness. And trust me, I always say it, I was there myself. And I still have things to work on, but I have a new perspective and a new way to seeing the world that allows me to do it without the suffering that was involved in the past, without taking on the burdens of others, and without stepping into the lives of others without a free will choice of an open invitation, which for me is beautiful. And I am blessed of have gone through all of these. Even though I don't look like all the things that I have gone through, it's not that I didn't go through them. It's that the learning experience of why I went through them puts all the responsibility in me. Today, I was browsing Facebook, and I think it was the channel put a message. It's supposed to be a positive message, and it says that people always talk about you or something like that when you actually kind of lose it, when they have been the ones that press your buttons. Or let's just put it like that. It was shorter. I don't remember it. I don't want to quote it exactly. Sovereignty means that you understand your emotions, you understand yourself, you understand what righteousness, integrity, and morals are, and free will. It's a compass of all of that. So when you're a righteous person, it doesn't matter who comes to provoke you. It's your responsibility to not engage, nobody else's. If you engage, then you're not sovereign. If you engage, or you want to get even, or you want to make somebody forcefully go through the things that you go, then you're just based off hate. You're not based off love. And then the reason why you're based on hate is because you haven't let go of what made you hurt in the first place, that allow you to think that you're less than. So you cannot keep on blaming it in the world or the people that is in your environment, because you're yourself choosing to stay in that environment, choosing to stay in that energy, choosing to stay in that mentality. When you are a person of God, when you actually allow the Holy Spirit to open your heart, when you allow the Holy Spirit to guide your way, and you stop judging, and you stop judging based on the fact that you understand where they are in their place, in their journey, in their moment. You don't judge them because you're full of love. And even if that love is not reciprocal, you still love them because they are just like you. And you once were there. But there's a lot of people that think, oh, because I'm healed, I cannot, da 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 da. Just because of what you're saying, you're contradicting positiveness and you're contradicting yourself. Let's make this clear. Even when I have the ability of helping others heal their own inner child wounds, it's not my responsibility to do so. And when you learn to let go of that, you start living life because you choose who you want beside you, taking your hand and walking with you in the understanding that nothing outside of you and your, I would say, matrimony with God is, as I explained it, the infinite symbol comes over and over and over again. For the loop to continue to move in the different timelines of life, you cannot allow the external forces to make it a circle. You gotta keep it turned. And the problem with us is that we are like rubber bands. We can have portions of times where we can be sovereign and then allow experiences to, instead of keeping the loop of the infinite symbol like this, convert it into this. You are the one that could keep it like this. A link chained to a link, right? A matrimony is an institution based on a rock, which is principles. We are not here to negotiate things outside that structure. We're here to embrace our uniqueness, honesty, and sincerity to make that foundation a solid one. So when I see the persecution, and because of what we were talking yesterday in the part of the scripture where they were mentioning Salem, right, which was John 3, if I'm not mistaken, about the baptism and the whole ritual that the church has placed on display for supposedly people receiving the Holy Spirit, it's missing a lot of more depth to it. And that was in yesterday's life. Today, we're moving to understand that Salem, that peace, that state of balance is not in play. It's not a game. It's an authority. And within that authority, you can live life, a better life, without being affected of your surroundings. But only you in free will can make that decision. No one can try to explain it to you. No one can try to make you understand it. No one can open your eyes to the truth. But go and look at history and see how that happened in Salem. How they hunt all these witches and actually disappear them just because they had natural powers that they were scared of because they didn't understand them, because they were living a connection within Mother Mary, Jesus Christ, Gaia, and Sophia. Didn't I prophesy a few years ago that the red dragon and the green dragon will merge? That's the Christic era. That's the true Christianity coming back. It's not the falseness that we have been fed. Is the true water. The true water that will stop you from being ignorant of the truth that has been hidden by constant indoctrination and passing from one generation to another a lie instead of a truth. Don't believe me. I always tell people, do not believe me. I don't care if you believe me. I believe that one above. And when he shows me how to read the Bible and how to look into the meanings of all these names in Aramaic and make me understand that this is a play that is made to be a blueprint, even though people are trying to prove it was a historical fact, which could have been, because it had to happen in order to be transposed, written, scribes writing about it, prophets speaking about it, coming and going and whatever. You have to understand that everything is a cycle. We're living in a world that is cycling back into that Christic era. It happened when Jesus Christ was walking in this earth. It happened again when the movement of the peace and love, whatever movement, and it's starting now again. Do you see how there is so many people speaking about the men having to be secure of themselves in order to give that security to a woman? That's the true institution of marriage. If a woman cannot feel safe with the energy of the masculine, because the masculine needs to touch on both energies to not only provide, but also have that softness of Mary to be welcoming and inviting, then there's no perfect union or no union that can last, because there's always going to be a party that's going to be bickering about something that bothers them personally. So when you are in a relationship where you can be open to one another and when you can actually communicate without feeling attacked, then there is growth, because you're not feeling hurt by the words of another. You're seeing the wisdom behind their words. And trust me, if you don't go through that cycle, you cannot understand where we're at right now. So don't feel that you're behind. Take the plunge to move forward. And the plunge to move forward is stop lying to yourself. Simple and easy. The moment I stopped lying to myself, I understood where I crossed the boundaries of another person's human free will and when I needed to place boundaries in my life. Again, I'm not saying that my truth has to be your truth. That's not my intention. And I do get passionate when I speak about these things and people think that I'm mad. I just speak with passion because I love the way Abba shows me the blueprint and shows me the way and allows me to transform and transmute energies with spiritual powers that we all have within us, and I wish you can find for yourself. It's beautiful to go back into history and not taint history with fanatical views. The moment you become a fanatical person, you lose the ability of harnessing or embracing the knowledge that Abba gives to us through scriptures, through factual acts of love. Jesus never asked to be called a king. Men idolized Jesus and called him a king through indoctrination. He was not born on a barn for no reason. he was sacrificed for a reason. And every time you go against his teachings, you're sacrificing him all over again. And the problem is people is not understanding that by sacrificing him, you're sacrificing yourself, because you're placing yourself in that loop, and nobody is going to be able to take you away from that loop if you don't realize the power that lies within you, because you are a high priestess. You are a high priest. You just have to learn how to see without the blinders of ego. You have to learn how to love with an open heart, not fear. And you have to learn that lies are only for those that say them and not for the ones that receive them. Nobody will leave believing your lies, because you will contradict yourself over and over again. And I was in that duality, just like everybody else. That's why I don't judge myself anymore. At the beginning, I took it as part of a walk of shame or a hall of fame or shame or whatever. And then I realized, no, that's not who I am. I know who I am. People like it, good. If they don't like it, keep on walking. It's not gonna change my story. It's not gonna change my truth. And it's not gonna change my walk through the eyes of Abba. I had a lot of dreams that I shared because I believed in the goodness of people. Even when humanity showed me that my dreams were supposed to be fantasious, I still know that they're possible. Not because I will sit here and wait for anything to happen. It's because when you want the manifestation to come, you are the one that are taking the actions that are needed into being in the right energy to receive them. And the hate that you have in your heart, that's what's keeping you away from experiencing true unconditional love. The hate that you have and the need that you have to reply to people, that's keeping you in the loop. The hate or the comments that you receive from unhealed people, when you pay attention to them, that is what's keeping you from living a life of peace where your free will choices are respected. The moment you start giving them the power, you lose yourself. Why? Because you're fighting like a turtle upside down, like I did, trying to defend a movement that was born with and through love for the good and betterment of humanity, not myself only. That's why I don't charge and do these videos like this. That's why I use other things to profit, my jewelry. That's why when I make music, I don't go at it in a professional level. Even though I'm not the best singer in the world, I know I can make it. But I didn't choose that path. Because right now, music has been used to live a specific life or kind of life in a hierarchy, and the value of true musicians and true lyrics and true sounds has become obsolete. Now anyone can make music, but not everyone can have true loving intentions behind their lyrics. They're either projections or the right words to be famous or to gain clout or to gain followers. I remember when reggaeton started. When reggaeton started, the voice that claimed for justice was the main essence. And then the ones that wanted to profit out of that sound made it more attractive to the low vibrational minds. It created a huge movement that not only denigrates women, but gives men the false illusion of thinking that they can be players and get away with it. And unfortunately, because of the denigrating lyrics falling in the ears of the girls that are listening to this music over and over again, they're believing the hype. So they allow themselves to be used, played with, because that's what they listen to. And I do understand that there is a huge battle in between what this Conejito Malo did. You know what is sad about the whole thing? That I wish everybody had the heart that that guy had. But I also wish that he, now that has the amount of money that he has, stops doing what he knows goes against his own heart. Why? Because it's simple. When you get to the top, you got what you want, but it gets cold and boring out there because you see all the falseness around you. And if you have a good heart, all you're attracting to your life is what you professed, is what you sold. And I always say that people tend to sell their soul. We all at one point fall into that habit. And it's because people believe that they have the right to do whatever it takes to reach a financial goal. So we cannot take away, he has an amazing heart and he's been helping people with his money, his own money. He invests his own money in things that other people will invest in. And even though there is kind of a balance, probably in his mind, there's no peace. And I hope he finds that peace, as well as any other artists that have done that to be where they're at. I hope they find peace in understanding that if you are an influence to another, you should be influencing them to live a life of peace, love, and self-love, and not a life where you're denigrating or they're denigrating themselves by singing your lyrics. And for me, that is very important. That is very important. I'm not going to do things in life that look good just to get what I want. I'm going to do things in life that will support the growth and advancements of others, even if it is free. Because for me, I gain more by knowing I'm doing right by him than taking advantage of my gifts to profit out of ignorance. So that's that. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Whoever has eyes, let them see. And true peace comes with understanding yourself and understanding that unconditional love is not at play. is not a joke. It's only real if you allow yourself to believe it. Take care.